The girl who walked miles to school and changed her village's future. In a small village, surrounded by fields and dusty roads, lived a young girl named Anaya. Her world was simple, filled with the chirping of birds at dawn and the sound of cattle bells at dusk. Life in the village moved slowly, with most children spending their days helping their parents in the fields or fetching water from faraway wells. Education was never a priority there, especially for girls. In the eyes of many villagers, a girl's duty was to learn cooking, take care of the house, and eventually get married. But Anaya's heart carried a fire that no one else could see. Every morning, she would watch the older boys of the village put on their school uniforms and set off walking towards a distant town where the nearest school was located. They would return in the evening with notebooks in their hands and stories about what they had learned. Anaya would listen quietly from a corner, pretending not to care, but inside her heart longed to be among them. She wanted to read, to write, to solve puzzles, to explore the magical world hidden in books. Her family was poor. They had only enough money to manage daily meals. Sending her to school was considered unnecessary. Girls don't need school, people said, they need to learn household chores. But Anaya was different. She dreamed of more than just household work. She dreamed of becoming someone who could bring light to her village. The next morning, before anyone could stop her, Anaya woke up at sunrise, tied her hair neatly, and set out barefoot on the long road to school. With no bag and no uniform, she carried only a small piece of paper and a pencil she had borrowed from a neighbor. The road was rough. Sharp stones hurt her feet, the sun burned her skin, and dust rose with every step. But Anaya did not stop. After 2 hours of walking, she finally reached the small school in town. At first, the teachers were surprised to see a barefoot girl from a distant village asking to sit in the classroom. She had no admission papers, no money, no books. But there was something in her eyes, an unshakable determination, that melted their hearts. They allowed her to sit quietly at the back of the class. That day, Anaya felt like she had entered another world. She listened carefully to every word the teacher spoke, as if each sentence was a treasure. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Every morning she walked miles to reach the school. Rain, heat, or cold did not stop her. Sometimes her clothes were drenched in rainwater, sometimes dust covered her from head to toe, sometimes she fainted from hunger on the way, but still she stood up and kept walking. Slowly, the teachers noticed her dedication. They began giving her old used books and notebooks. Other students mocked her at first, laughing at her torn clothes and bare feet, but soon they realized that this girl was smarter than most of them. At home, things were not easy. Her mother scolded her for wasting time. Neighbors whispered that Anaya was bringing shame to the family by chasing dreams that belonged only to boys. But Anaya did not fight back. She simply kept walking the long road to school every day. Education was her only weapon, her only hope, and her only dream. Years passed like this. By the time Anaya reached her teenage years, she had become the topper of her school. Her name was announced on the stage during annual functions. People who once laughed at her now clapped for her achievements. She won scholarships that allowed her to continue her studies without burdening her family. For the first time, her father's eyes filled with tears, not of worry, but of pride. But Anaya's story did not end there. She did not stop with her own success. She looked back at her village and remembered all the little girls who were still confined to homes, washing utensils, carrying water, and being told that education was not for them. She knew she had to change this. So she began teaching younger girls in the village under a banyan tree in the evenings. With the few books she owned, she started a small informal school. At first, only 2 or 3 girls came, shy and hesitant. But as weeks passed, more children gathered around her. She taught them alphabets, numbers, and stories about courage. The villagers who once opposed her began noticing the change. Those little girls started writing their names, reading signboards, and even helping their parents with simple calculations in the market. Slowly, minds began to shift. People realized that education was not a threat, it was a gift. Anaya became a role model, not just for the girls, but for the entire community. When she finally completed her higher studies and became a teacher, she returned to her village with a mission. She fought with the local authorities, wrote letters to government offices, and gathered support from NGOs. After years of struggle, the day finally arrived when a proper school was built in her village.